Hi, welcome to A Gay and a NonGay.
Woo!
I'm Dan Hudson, I'm non-gay.
I wasn't wooing non-gays, sorry. I'm James, I'm gay.
Yes, and we are joined by a straight guy today, which is...
Another one?
Well, I've done the maths, and in over 400 episodes, I think we've had less than 5.
You've done the maths.
Oh my God, I'm the 6th straight guy on the whole thing.
Yeah.
Hold on, you aren't invited to speak yet.
Classic straight man.
Come on.
Taking up space.
Wait, have you actually counted the episodes?
Yeah, because I know how many episodes we've done, because it's...
No, but have you gone through the straight guys?
I've just gone through in my head. Can you think...
Okay, but
Can you name...
you name them.
Well, I actually can't think of... Though we had that poet guy.
Okay.
So on the podcast quite recently, we've been talking a lot about like straight guys and like friendships and interactions that straight guys have with each other versus gay people. And something that's been coming up quite a lot is Max's book, which is
Because you keep talking about it.
But honestly, I've had it in the back of my head since I read it, which was like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Because it's so interesting. It's called Billy No Mate. And it's basically about how Max found himself with no one to ask to be his best man.
Best man.
It's really interesting. We've been talking about this, as I say, quite a lot on the podcast.
I feel way more gay. I feel like I'm really trying to assert my gayness just so I can like take up space. Isn't that insane? I can feel myself doing it.
So, I know we're going to talk about this a lot, but I actually think this gets to the heart of a lot of the friendship conversation, is that we perform different versions of ourselves in different combinations. And
Yeah.
So a lot of what I looked at in the book is, why do so many men have a friendship problem? And there's various reasons. But a big one is a lot of guys that have mates, but they lack close friendships. And it's because of how they are performing their masculinity. So they'll often have been combinations with women, for example, or with gay friends they might have, and they'll be a different version of themselves. They'll be more open. So in different combinations of masculinity, we perform a slightly different version of ourselves. And that is intimately connected to the sort of friendships that are possible. You know, when straight men get together, it's often straight man to the power of straight man. It's like masculinity, I think, exists between us as much as in us, right? And that's what often happens in male groups of straight men.
Sorry for laughing at masculinity in us.
But I think it's interesting that when we've straightened up big time,
Yeah.
you've felt free to be more gay.
Do you think you've gone more straight since you've been in the room?
Probably more aware of being straight.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that any different? Like when I'm in America, I'm being more British.
I think so, because you're like, this is my niche now.
Yeah.
That's super interesting. So it's okay. So firstly, just off the back of the synopsis from the book, did you actually find a best man?
So the twist in the tale was, I did solve the friendship problem. I could have had a number of men to be best man, but I in the end chose to have 2 best women, because authentically they were my best friends. And I decided to have 2 best women, which is kind of like the twist at the end of the book. Like, it's not going to ruin the book for you.
Yeah.
But like, that's kind of, and I like that because the point of it is not like, a lot of blokes think, oh God, I'm getting married, I've got to have someone to do a good speech and have someone at the top of the aisle and organise a stag. Like, it's just like ticking boxes. Whereas actually it's much more about going, well, how are you in a situation where you don't have that many friends? Why do you have friends who don't know you very well? And actually examining how you show up. So I think friendship is a really good lens to look at things like masculinity, and that intimately intersects with sexuality. And so that's why I thought it's interesting to be here today talking on this podcast. It's almost like the perfect frame to do that.
Yeah. I feel like we should have had you here 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I think Dan was pitching for it for a while.
Did you have a stag do?
I did have a stag do.
And were the girls invited on that?
So again, without making generalisations, the 2 best women had organised hens before, and they said they absolutely love being on stags.
Right.
Because blokes are just so efficient with admin, and they just don't care about so many things.
Yeah.
They'd be like, where do you want me and when?
Yeah.
And then like the WhatsApp group would just die.
Yeah.
And then they'd like come to the day and they'd be like, is anyone going to show up? And then all the cars put up, like, we're here.
Yeah.
And then people go mental for like 2 days, and they're like, get in the car, and then it dies again. You know?
Yeah.
And they said it's just so much easier. They said there's no like arguments about Prosecco budgets and and are we going to have matching pajamas? And, like, I know that sounds like a real cliche, but these are real things that they've had to organise and deal with before in all female groups.
Yeah.
One of the weaknesses of blokes is also flippantly one of the strengths, is that blokes generally keep things pretty simple and pretty unemotional, and that means that sometimes relationships can be quite superficial between men, but they're also not like it's not like Buckaroo. In Buckaroo, you layer on all this thing, all this kind of emotional weight and expectations, and then it can go wrong really badly. Whereas because blokes don't do that, it's pretty simple. But then it's like it's a trade-off. You what you lack in intimacy, you kind of make up in simplicity, and sometimes that's what we want from friendships, especially. Not all friendships you want to know someone to the depth of their soul. Sometimes you just want to have a laugh with them. So it's like I always think about friendship exists as a system. We need different people for different things at different times. Blokes generally lack the close friendships, though.
I don't know that it is my experience per se, but I can see it like in front of me.
Playing out.
Do you know what I mean? I can see it coming towards me. But I think I'm just about exempt from it. Because most of my friends have a shared interest, which is like rock music.
The basic facts are, since they started measuring friendships in like the early 70s, people thought, well, we should actually start coming up with data for this sort of thing. Men have generally had fewer friends than women, especially fewer close friends. The problem seems to be getting a lot worse since the early 90s, which is interesting. Like the number of men in America saying they've got 0 close friends has increased 5-fold from 3% to 15%. If you look at stats in the UK, it's pretty similar. There does seem to be what they're calling a friendship recession now. Now, they don't do a lot of research in terms of breaking it down in terms of sexuality, so there's kind of be interested to see what you think about that. But in terms of explaining why that happens, there's a few different theories. One is how you show up in friendships, and men often learn unspoken rules in friendships. Things like keep it fun, like it's got to be about the banter, got to have a good laugh here. Don't go there, like this is built for comfort, not confession. Don't be needy, like active affection between a lot of men is a bit taboo. You're not really meant to be the one always being needy and on the front foot, like, oh, can we get together? Some men generally are quite socially lazy, and they often treat women in their friendship group or in their romantic partnership, if they're straight, as like the HR team, like the HR department. They're very much the switchboard. So that's kind of one explanation. But then the other one, which is interesting.
So gendered and offensive. Men treating women like that HR team. Wow. Carry on.
You see this all the time.
Well, I relate slightly to that. I remember at one point in my life feeling like I had no friends, and I was like, why are my friends not making an effort with me? And I think I actively chose to start making more of an effort and start saying to friends, oh, I need to see you. Can we do something? And that completely changed my life just by reaching out to female friends or male friends, because I, for some reason, wasn't.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that is a bit of social programming where men are told not to show affection, but I see it on the tube too, or on a bus. Straight men friends will get on and they deliberately sit quite far away from each other. I don't really, and then they're shouting across the tube to each other. Like, why don't you just sit next to each other, bro?
So those little things set up certain permissions, and what I mean by that is, on its own, that's not a big deal. Sit across the tube and shout at someone.
Yeah, I mean, I literally saw it today, and I was thinking about you. I knew we were doing this interview.
Did I have a fake beard on?
No, it wasn't you.
It was that, you sure?
Yeah.
And a little crook, like a shepherd's crook.
No, it was you.
It was me.
It was you. Yeah.
I was in disguise on the tube. Those little gestures, I think it means it sets up a certain vibe. So that's when it comes to talking about certain things, many straight men are like, oh, can I? It's not really for this, or how will it be received? Like the energy between us doesn't really allow it. So I think that's quite interesting. But the thing I want to get to, because I think this should probably cross straight and gay friendships, is that evolutionary anthropologists have looked at friendships, and essentially the male social style, and this is across cultures, it emerges very early in people's lives, so it kind of feels pretty robust that this is programmed in us to an extent. The male social style is quite different to the female social style, and again, these are averages, but women tend to hang out in pairs, face to face, based around a lot of talk and quite strong emotional disclosure. Like that tends to be how they hang out. Often if you ask women, do you have a best friend? They'll be able to name one, and they'll often say, I actually know that person better than I'd say I know my spouse or whatever. The male social style is a bit different. It tends to happen in groups, side by side, shoulder to shoulder, and the thing that holds it together is activities. And a third thing, so it might be an interest, like you said, rock music. I think it's really interesting that a lot of your friendships are they are held together by a thing that you both love, and also an activity, like let's go and see a gig.
Yeah.
And let's talk about the gig, and we've got a reason to get together. Often men need a pretense to get together. But what happens as you get a bit older, for a lot of guys, is you lose that common activity, that context, because you just have less time. You get busy at work, might have a family, serious relationship takes up more time. Like, it's happened to loads of people. And so, that's the key thing. Like, the main course of the social feast for men, I would always say, is the activity. So I'd be interested to know how you respond to that, and if you've noticed something similar in...
As in, do male gay friendship groups have activities?
Well,
is that the question? Is that the question?
No, but like, when you kind of hear that, is that something you would, like how I've talked about the social style, is that something you recognise?
Yeah, I think so. I have a mix of friends. I'm both of those two sides of the spectrum. Like, when you were talking about the way a female interacts with a friend, I think I have that. If you said, who's your best friend, I could pick two, and for lots of different reasons. But then I also have the other side of it, where I have a lot of other friends that I connect with on a group level because of an activity. And that activity is normally getting absolutely wasted and shagging loads of men.
Right.
So, which inherently feels very straight, like, apart from the fact that it's men and not women that we're sleeping with. But I see that over and over again, and especially in my 20s, and a lot of my friends that are in their 20s still, I can see that playing out.
When I wrote the book, there's not a chapter dedicated to gay friendships, and I thought I should really have one. But at the time, I was like, do I really have authority to talk about gay men's friendships because of not being gay? And to be honest, there isn't loads of research about it. But I did speak to various gay men I know, and I said, what do you reckon about this? And I did read some books about it, quite boring academic literature about gay men's friendships. And interestingly, they said that one thing that is really positive about gay men's friendships and can hold them together is that there is a thing as, there is a gay scene, right? There are gay clubs or places where gay men will get together. And actually, one of the things that really makes friendship difficult in the modern world is the decline of what sociologists call third spaces. So work is one space, home is another. The kind of spaces in the middle that we used to hang out with a lot in previous decades, whether it be a church, whether it be like your local social club, your working man's club, your Rotary club, parks, things like that. Coffee shops, arguably third spaces. There's just less of them, and they're of a different sort. You almost have to pay to be there now. But because of the way the community of gay men works, is there's a lot more gay spaces, right? And actually, that's really handy as like scaffolding to like hang out and meet people.
Yeah.
Like, and actually, if you don't have that, that's when you become an adult. It's like, oh Jesus, I've got to organise my whole social life. Yeah. Well, when you're younger, you don't have, when we were at Leeds Uni, like that, we were at LSR FM together, and that, we go to that room and everyone would be there.
Yeah.
And there would be loads of nights out, and there was just stuff going on. So like, you didn't even have to try. And then you leave, you're like, oh, when am I going to see Bam or whatever? This will mean nothing to you if you don't really that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I think there is scaffolding in the gay community, but also we're happy to talk about our trauma, and we've all got a very shared trauma.
Yeah.
So that immediately connects us, I think, in quite a strong way. But then also straight men have a lot of trauma, which could easily connect them, but for some reason you don't want to open up about it.
Yeah, I think that's right. And also, it's the common experience presumably makes it easier. So like the experience of coming out or dealing with, being a gay man in the world, which is not always easy, that is like a trauma or a difficulty that immediately is common ground. And actually, commonality is like a crucial thing in forming any relationship, right? And I think that's like a powerful thing that maybe straight men don't have. But then there's also another element which comes up a little bit in the research and when you speak to gay men. Again, it'd be interesting to know what you think about this. Is that whole in straight friendships is all that when Harry met Sally thing, like, oh, can men and women really be friends because of like eventually it becomes sexual, or can a friendship coexist with sexual tension? I'd argue that like it definitely can, and actually I talked about in the book, obviously ended up having two best women, lived with them for about 7 years, and there were obviously times when it was never actively sexual, but Now, I'd be lying if I said there wasn't times where there was attraction or mutual attraction, but the friendship could still survive that and thrive despite of it. So I don't think it's as simple as like, oh, it's just not possible. But it's much more active, I think, in gay men's friendships because it's, you know, any relationship between a straight man and a straight woman is going to have that subtext. And I just wonder if relationships between two gay men, does that ever complicate things?
I think we're constantly navigating that. We're meant to interview you, by the way, and it's so funny
sorry.
you're asking me questions, but I mean, you're really challenging my thinking, so it's super interesting. I don't know, I think I have friends that I used to only have friends that I wasn't attracted to. Like I would only have,
Really?
I would categorize people immediately. Like,
That's why we're friends.
Are you someone I want to sleep with, or are you going to be my friend? I would do that like immediately. So it might not happen just based on attraction. It might happen based on work or depending on where we met or something. So like I met attractive gay people I work with, but I would choose them to be a friend because it was work.
Yeah.
I have given up on that now, and now I'm just sort of legs akimbo going around feeling out all sorts of different situations. But
you said before that you've slept with people just to like get it out the way, you know.
Did I say that?
Yeah.
I can hear myself saying that. I can't remember having that.
I can't remember the context.
But I can imagine I said that.
It's just so hot. Let's just get it out of the way.
Yeah. Like, maybe. But now I'm very close friends with people I've slept with too. After my breakup from an abusive male relationship, I feel like I found the importance of friendships more than ever. And I've realized that friendship and platonic love is also, to some extent, romantic. So, like, I have a lot of friends who I've had sex with a few times who I love like very dearly, but are also, you know, living their own life and out there on their own journey. And it's never like, it's never once felt like it was going to be monogamous, but I care very deeply for them and they do for me. So I'm not sure if that answered your question really.
No, it did.
But I think it's possible to be friends and love someone without needing to trap them and be connected to them and like be in this monogamous. See, I mean, Dan and I argue about marriage and monogamy a lot, and I have kind of given up on it. And I don't know if that's sad or if that's forever or how I even feel about that, to be honest. But I've sort of just given up on it because I just kind of feel like it's a lie. And since I gave up on it, I've been a lot happier and I've had a lot deeper friendships.
And friendship becomes the kind of the most important relationship in your life.
Yeah.
So one interesting kind of theory about friendship is we on average have 150 friends. Okay, on average. Now you might think, God, that feels that feels absolutely true. But we don't have. They're not obviously all of the same. Quality closeness, right?
Yeah.
But actually, it's structured in like concentric circles. So the innermost circle is 5 people. Now that might include your parents or the people you're most close to, but there's normally a couple of friends in there. Like you might have your partner, might have your mum and dad or whatever. You might have 2 or 3 mates in there. But what happens is when someone gets into a serious romantic relationship, the research shows that because it takes so much time and energy, they push 2 people out of that circle. So we've all probably been in the situation of having a mate that you're like, this is one of my best mates. Like, what's happened to like Gary? Gary's never around anymore. Gary's just sacked me off. It's because Gary just doesn't have the space. But it's like a really robust finding. Like you just push friends away when you get into a romantic relationship. It does, I think, ease off as you get deeper into it when you kind of, you know, you're like, actually need some space. But it is a thing. Like it's a proven thing.
What is the one thing that people can listening can do, gay or straight, to make their friendships better?
I think it's what your realization of what you did is exactly it. So I spoke to a guy called Steve, who's got loads and loads of friends. Steve.
What, Steve?
Is this the guy?
Yeah, he kind of sounds like that.
Why are all your friends called Steve, Gary, or Bam?
Yeah. I hadn't thought about
literally everyone you've mentioned so far is Steve, Gary, Dan, Bam.
Waiting for Dave. What, Dave?
Oh, there's also Shagger.
Oh, Shagger.
The Tit Monster. The Tit Monster.
Tit Monster.
Yeah.
Why is he called the Tit Monster?
And Tom Twofoot. These are all made up.
Right.
Yeah, I'll just explain my joke. As part of the recurring feature. But I spoke to Steve and I said to him, you know,
what's Steve?
All right, mate. I smacked him on the back. I said, you got loads of mates. Like, what's your secret? And he says, well, my friends call me the Sherpa. The Sherpa, like the kind of those Nepalese soldiers that carry everything up the mountain, because I organise everything. But if I didn't organise everything, we never get together. And I thought, as a metaphor, that's exactly what friendship should be. It requires a bit of leadership sometimes. You should be the Sherpa in your social relationships if you can. Be the one who sends the text, checking in, organises the meetup. Like my friend Dom called me yesterday at 6 o'clock. I saw my phone ring. I haven't spoken to him for like a year. I was like, oh, Dom's called me. That was him being a Sherpa. We had a chat for half an hour. It was great. Made my day, actually. But he showed a bit of leadership. Like, how can you be the Sherpa in your social relationships? It doesn't have to be doing massive things all the time, but that is, at the end of the day, the thing in your control and the biggest difference you can make.
Have your friendships now changed, though? Like, how did you start breaking that down? And did people get weird when you released the book?
I actually found releasing the book for some friendships was unbelievably useful, in that I wrote probably the most, if I say so myself, the most kind of moving chapter was about being best friends with someone at uni and being in a comedy double act with them and being on the stand-up circuit. We'd always drive to all these gigs, and like that sort of intimacy of like going to far-flung places, dying on your hole, doing well or whatever, and then you being in the car on the way back, like hours on the open road, and then kind of being in a double act and working together all the time. It's like such a powerful friendship. And then for whatever reason, we stopped working together. And as we stopped working together, we stopped hanging out so much, and then not hanging out at all. And then the chapter was like all about that. And then the lament of like, I don't just miss this person. I miss who I was with this person.
Yeah.
And I miss that time of life. A lot of the people, when they miss their friendships, they're like, oh, my life just doesn't feel so energized. And like often C.S. Lewis wrote that friendships, like they need a spot on the horizon. Like when if you're working towards something with someone, or you've got a shared passion or a shared goal of some sort, it just energizes it, and you're traveling together.
Yeah.
And often when people lose friendships, or they've got friendships, it just doesn't feel like it used to. It's like, oh, we've lost that spot on the horizon. And actually, that's one of the kind of sad things sometimes about getting a bit older. It's like when you're younger, you're just at it. You're doing cool stuff. You're on the front foot. And a lot of people find their life gets a bit thinner, and because their life is thinner, their friendships are thinner.
Yeah.
To answer your question, it was really kind of quite a vulnerable chapter, that, and I changed names, of course, and all that. But he read it and said, like, oh, I read your book, and I was like, heart in my mouth, going like, is he gonna be like, how dare you talk about this? But he was like, yeah, I thought what you wrote was really great, and we're now really good mates again.
Okay.
But it took me almost having to write the elegy for it. Write the kind of funeral.
Yeah. So did you go up to mates and start being like, oh, hey, I miss you?
I started doing it on a much more straight way. I just said, hey, Nick, I've been thinking about friendship a lot, and actually you're one of my best mates, and actually this means a lot to me that you can be, that you're my friend, and like I like hanging out with you. I want to hang out. I'd like to do it more.
And what did they say?
Well, he's sort of but there was something changed, like in the atmosphere. It's just like you kind of admitted it, and like you could both relax and go, oh, because the thing about friendship is it's very ambiguous. Like someone said to me recently, he said he'd been best man 7 times. It was mental. And he said for 5 of those guys, he wouldn't even put them in his top 50 friends. Right? Okay.
That is my biggest fear.
I know, exactly. And it's because how do you know really if someone likes you as much as you like them? Especially a lot of straight male friendships, it's just like you never would say, you know what, I think you're a really good bloke, unless you're like 7 pints deep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you kind of get to this awkward moment around weddings, and you've got to pick groomsmen.
Yeah.
You've got to pick a best man. So actually that was quite useful, as like getting married is you do have to go up to people and go, you're in the first draft.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
You're getting the call up. And
Yeah.
Cool. And hopefully they're like, oh, that's nice.
Do you think this is all just homophobia playing out in straight male friendships? Like this lack of connection and this lack of love, for want of a... Well, no, it is. It does feel like a lack of love, especially when you were just describing how you said it to your friend. You're like dancing around the fact that you just genuinely love him. So this is really... Well, not dancing, playing football.
Yeah. It's the homophobia thing is really interesting, because on one hand, I think it is internalized fear of being seen as gay to an extent. Like, what was really interesting in the research is that it used to be really normal. Like friendship now, arguably people say, oh, friendship is female. Like women are generally better at at friendship than men. That if you read the media, that's what you expect. But in the past, friendship was very much gendered as male, and the kind of iconic male friendships were between two men, and men would share beds, and they'd write each other like what we'd probably go, well, that's almost a love letter. But what happened is when being gay became an identity or a thing, and it's like, oh, there are gay people now, because being gay was also seen as immoral. People were like, well, being gay is a thing. It's also bad to be gay, so I can't do anything that looks gay. And suddenly things like physical intimacy, like hugging men, sharing beds with men, being outwardly affectionate, a lot of men were like, whoa. And I don't think, I noticed it in myself. It's like hugging guys, I'm a bit better at it now, but I used to find it really difficult and strange. And like even saying like, I love you to my dad, or like, how was my brother? Now, I wouldn't go, I'm homophobic, because I don't think I am. But there's definitely something weird absorbed through the system that's gone into me. Yeah. And at school, it's about like it's not necessarily we hate gay people. It's just we hate being a feminized masculinity, and any sort of masculinity that breaks out of that hypermasculine mold. Especially when I was at school, went to an all-boys school, it was policed by homophobic taunts, really. Yeah. And it wasn't like you're gay, it was like you're doing being a boy wrong. That was kind of what the message was.
Right. But they're you see them as the same thing.
I think they become synonymous. But my overall point is there are lots of boys and men who are not homophobic and don't have any problem with gay people, and probably know loads of gay people, but would be a bit like, I don't want to look gay or behave gay. And it's not like in their head, it's separate things. Like they're not like, they would never say anything outwardly homophobic. They'd also be a bit like.
So you have internalized homophobia?
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can call it that because you're not actually gay, but that's sort of what it is, right? Or internalized femphobia.
Yeah.
The hugging thing is interesting because depending on who the person is, I don't have a problem with hugging people in and of itself. But I do think, is this going to be uncomfortable for this person because they are experiencing, I guess, what you just said. So you end up like, in fact, when we said hi earlier, we did do a hug, but our first instinct was to do a handshake. Yeah. Which is, I guess, a dynamic that I'm constantly, I wouldn't say I was battling, but you do think about that a lot with straight people and how to greet each other and how to say goodbye. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Goodbyes are really difficult with straight men often. I love watching straight men in the pub, especially men above a certain age. They can't handle it. Yeah. They can't handle getting together, getting there. Like the moment of greeting, they're just like, ugh. And then leaving especially, like they're all just like, I'm going to go now. And was like, all right, then go, bye then. Yeah. And they're like, yep. Yeah. And they all sort of run out and run in different directions. Yeah. And it's like, why doesn't have to be so difficult? Yeah. It's fucking weird about it. But I do think it's a straight thing in that there are certain, I kind of talk about this a bit in the book, but there's certain things where, again, unspoken rules that you're allowed to do when you hang out with male friends. Yeah. Like it'd be a bit weird to text someone you haven't seen going, hey, let's go out for dinner. I think
that would be weird. You wouldn't send them out.
I think if you're just less likely to go out for dinner with someone, if you said just let's meet up or go and have a coffee, you're less likely to get an affirmative response than if you said, hey, let's go and have a pint.
That's insane.
You go and have a few beers and you might go and get food, but if you said, hey, let's meet at a restaurant and have dinner together, that's coded as romantic.
Wow. Yeah. That's crazy.
I do agree with that.
So much of this stuff is mental.
Yeah.
And it comes from just like quite
nowhere.
Gendered assumptions or fears. Most blokes are not completely mental. They're not going to go like, oh God, he's asked me for a walk. He wants to shag me. Like, they're going to go, oh, he wants to go for a walk. Okay. But in your head, you're like, oh, they're going to think of this. Or if they receive it, they're going to think, if I accept that, is it still a bit odd? Or I think it's a fear like, are we just going to talk? That's a big thing.
Yeah.
Are we just going to talk?
Yeah.
What are we going to talk about?
Yeah.
I don't know. What we got to do something.
Yeah. I got to do something.
We went for a curry last time. So we got for another curry.
Yeah.
Is going for a curry different to going for a dinner?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so funny, isn't it? It's true, isn't it? If you said to someone, let's meet up for a curry, it's like fine. Maybe because it's spicy.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
What the hell is wrong with you?
It's just, to be honest,
what is wrong with straight men?
The phrase that you used that made my head tick was, "Do you want to go out for dinner?"
Yeah.
That like nobody would ever say that like that.
But okay, so if I say, do you want to grab a Nando's?
That's
Should we do a cheeky
yeah.
Nando's?
Cheeky Nando's,
Yeah,
but then
yeah,
you're
yeah.
kind of being slightly ironic and insincere, and that relaxes me because I'm like,
Right.
we won't have to ever show any sort of real feeling here, so let's
Yeah.
actually, yeah.
But can we go for dinner Friday? You'd be freaking out.
Yeah.
I don't think either of us would because
I might just mean Wagamamas or something.
But Wagamamas, in terms of like the kind of how it's coded,
yeah, it is coded.
is like Wagamama's not a curry. Wagamama's is probably curry, burger,
yeah.
Nando's, Wagamama, Carluccio's or Strada. I mean, that is like
That's a day.
Yeah.
that is a day.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. But
Do you know what I mean?
It's so fun. I mean, I do, but it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
it doesn't make
And
sense.
it's like you say, it's like this stuff it's so coded and it's coming from nowhere.
Do you want to
Yeah.
do you want to grab an egg in Pret?
Yeah,
I think we
yeah.
need to make a full league table of like, gay foods.
Yeah.
It goes back to that conversation about like straight men don't recycle because it seems a bit gay. It's basically that, isn't it? I feel like that sums up this issue.
Yeah. 100%.
And that's crazy. Well, this has been amazing. Thank you so much. And
I
check
loved
out
it.
Max's book. It was out a couple of years ago. It's called Billy No Mates. See,
I don't know why I thought that was funny.
It just feels
feels
like
shady.
It was
isn't
like
it?
a subtle thing of saying,
No,
"You're right, fucking
I'm
other
just-
book, mate."
Yeah.
No, I'm saying it's out. Like, go get
Yeah,
it.
it's
Yeah.
So yeah, it's available everywhere. It'll be easy to find. We'll put it in the episode description.
Anything
Great.
you want to plug? Anything else?
I'm doing an improvised comedy show with a live jazz band called Giant Steps. It's on at the Soho Theatre on the 7th, 8th and 9th of July. It's got some amazing guests. If you like the funnies, fucking hell. And live music. The funnies. Suddenly became
like funnies and music and bands.
Yeah.
Um,
But anyway, that's on. So
where do we get tickets for that?
Soho Theatre.
Theatre's website.
SohoTheatre.com.
So there's a Nando's nearby.
There
so
is a Nando's.
There is.
There's a cheeky one.
cheeky one
Cheeky
beforehand.
We had the extra hot sauce.
Yeah,
Of course, yeah.
And
And the macho peas.
Go on, I feel like you had a great anecdote there. That you were,
as part of the research of the book, I found a story about Nando's, and it was like undercover with like a Nando's employee.
Yeah.
And there were blokes going up to the Nando's employees saying, my chicken, I want the lemon and herb, but can you put the extra hot flag in it? Because I'm on a date and I don't want to look like a pussy.
yeah. On that note,
Fuck. That's so sad.
yeah. On that note, thanks for coming in.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Max. And
Thank
come
you.
back again soon.
Yeah.
We'll rate all of these crazy restaurant problems.
Yeah.